Good afternoon, members of Parliament, support staff, those in public tribune, radio listeners, TV viewers, those following via social media, and members of the media. Welcome to the continuation of this public meeting number 16 of today, Friday, March 24, 2023. I would like to give a special welcome to the Council of Ministers. We have Minister Leo Lambrix and Minister of Education, Mr. Rudolph Samuel, and their respective support staff. We have established a quorum of 10 members. Please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. Any notice of lateness?
It's supposed to be in your paper. Lateness we have two.
And Melissa also. I have not received, I had received some notice of lateness, but they are already here. Does any member of Parliament have any notifications? I see MP Angelique Rumu. MP Angelique Rumu, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A pleasant good morning to you. Pleasant good morning to the honorable ministers here present this morning and their support staff. Pleasant good morning to my colleague MPs and to the viewing and listening public. Mr. Chairman, this morning this afternoon rather, I would like to congratulate the Dance Theatre of Sint Maarten in Disu Dance Theatre for having put on what I would consider to be an excellent cast of our brightest and talented youngsters as they are going to have their first viewing of the play in Cont starting tomorrow evening at the Cultural Center at 7 p.m. So I would like to encourage the listening public to go out and support our talented youngsters as they exhibit their talent in the art of dance. And also I would like to encourage the listening public to visit the science fair next week, as most of the winners who won for their respective schools will be exhibiting their science projects next week. It starts at I believe 8 a.m. on Wednesday next week, and we will be able to see all of the winning schools exhibit their winning science projects, and then on Saturday, I believe the overall winner will be chosen. So I just want to encourage the viewing and listening public to go out and support our youth starting tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the Cultural Center, and then on Wednesday at 8 a.m. at the Bel Air Community Center. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Angelique Rumu. The next person I see is MP Chanel Brownbill.
Good morning to you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to the Clearfield, to the various ministries, to my colleagues, to the people of St. Maarten, viewers, listeners. Mr. Chairman, I'm just have a notification of seconding and supporting MP Bryson with his amendments. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Chanel Brownbill. I would like to give the floor to MP Rolando Bryson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to all of you. Mr. Chairman, today is, in the tourism industry, a not very commonly known international day that is celebrated, but I think, especially considering the discussions and part of what I was explaining yesterday about Airbnb and more people participating in that industry, today is actually known as the International Independent Accommodations Day that was established by the International Hotel Association and InVivo. It was actually started recently in 2018 to bring more awareness to getting more people involved in the hotel industry and the sharing accommodation industry. So I think maybe as of today, with us handling the budget and continuing to see more people get into this industry, We also start a sort of educational campaign that was mentioned yesterday to get people to understand their rights and responsibilities in terms of paying for their accommodations or their guests' hotel taxes and so on. So to all of you out there who are participating in this industry, happy Independent Accommodations Day.
Thank you, MP Bryson. I don't see any further notifications. We have as agenda point for this public meeting, number 2, National Ordinance stipulating the budget of the country for the year 2023 under National Ordinance Budget 2023, the document IS/535/2022-23, dated March 6, 2023, under Parliamentary Year 2022-23-166. Agenda point 3 is ratification of the decision list of the Interparliamentary Kingdom Consultation, IPKO, held from February 28 to March 3, 2023 in Willemstad, Curaçao, under document IS/543/2022-23, dated March 9, 2023. We go over to the agenda point 2. Parliament received the national ordinance stipulating the budget of the country for the year 2023 on March 6, 2023. All members have received a copy of the draft national ordinance, a hard copy, digital link via email, and P-Drive. The budget 2023 is also available on our website, www.sxmparliament.org. A Central Committee meeting was held on March 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th on the subject matter, in which the members of Parliament posed their questions and the ministers answered these questions. The members also had the opportunity to pose points of clarification to the ministers. A report has been made on the deliberation in the Central Committee and was sent to the government, as well as to the members. The government answered this report with a so-called note following the final report under document IS/610-2022-23, dated March 21st, 2023. This meeting is a continuation of the meeting which started on March 22nd, 2023, during which agenda point 1 was closed and agenda point 2 was adjourned. During the handling of the agenda point 2, the Council of Ministers each gave a presentation on the 2023 budget of their respective ministry, and 6 members of Parliament were given the opportunity to pose questions to the ministers in the first round. This meeting continued on March 23, 2023, with members posing questions in the first round to the ministers. Each minister then answered the questions and also the clarification questions in the first round. The meeting was then adjourned at 2:51 a.m. this morning until 1200 hours today. Today, the meeting will continue with members of Parliament speaking in the second round. Please be reminded that the speaking time in the second round is 45 minutes. According to the speakers list, I give the floor to MP Sarah Westcott-Williams. MP Sarah Westcott-Williams, you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. And a good morning. A good morning to my colleagues. A good morning to all tuned in to the continuation of this meeting. We're now in the second round of the budgetary debates. And so I say good morning to everyone. Good morning to the ministers and their support staff. It's afternoon and long over afternoon. But you see, when you have a meeting that was actually supposed to get started at, I believe, 12:30, you can understand these 11:30, you can understand these slip-ups. But, Mr. Chairman, so I was welcoming and saying good afternoon to the ministers and their support staff. And, Mr. Chairman, of course, last night was a long night and spent a lot of it in here and then some of it not in here, but I did follow the meeting. And, Mr. Chairman, a red thread throughout the discussions from the side of the government is that this is a realistic budget, one of the most realistic budgets ever. So, Mr. Chairman, let's look at what has been presented to the members of parliament, expecting our vote on it because, after all, it is realistic. This realistic budget contains an amount the government has budgeted as receivable or to be received for 5 million guilders. Now, where would that come from? According to the government, a plan is going to start up. A plan is going to start up, information, education. Mr. Chairman, next week, we will be closing off the first quarter of 2023. Yet, this budget is realistic for the next 9 months at least. So we got 5 million guilders. The plan is yet to come. The efforts are yet to be made. And then we hope to collect that. Vehicle inspection taxes at 34,000 guilders or something to that effect. Government ups that amount to over 480,000 guilders. So how is it going to be done? Oh, we have to make a plan. We got to make a plan. We're working on a plan, and then we're going to get this money. 3 weeks into the year, but it is realistic that this money can be received so that we could move from the 30-something thousand to the 400 and something thousand for vehicle inspection fees. There is to be a tourist tax, visitors tax, 10 million guilders. The revenue in the budget, in this realistic budget, is projected. So what exactly is it? Who, how, when? Oh, the details are still to be worked out. But it is a realistic budget, the members of parliament are told. I want to ask the Minister of Finance in that context. I asked it and I got an answer. What was the CFT's insistence on a casino tax? And the minister answered, and the CFT wants the casinos who are currently exempt from paying TOT to pay TOT, so to remove the exemption. And so my question is again, when will this happen? When will it happen, and what could it mean for the income of government? Mr. Chairman, we continue with this realistic budget. Mr. Chairman, we have in this realistic budget, we have, just to take a pick out of the contractual agreements of government. We take the garbage contracts, and the garbage contracts that are contractual agreements of government are budgeted for 10 months. So it has been reduced from the 12 months contractual obligations to 10 months in this realistic budget. And the revenue that is being projected are some of the very uncertain items I mentioned before. Mr. Chairman, I jokingly said during one of the meetings that the amount that is budgeted to pay police for overtime, based on the amount of police officers that I saw for the Causeway jump up, that I think that budget would be usurped. So I asked the minister to give me an indication as to how much we are paying right now for overtime. Right now, January, February. And the minister gave the information. More than 100,000 guilders a month. More than 100,000 guilders a month. But we put 500,000 guilders, slash the amount compared to budget 2022, and it's very realistic because we're dealing with actual figures. In that manner, we're dealing with actual figures. Mr. Chairman, and then I mentioned to the government, I said to the government, why did you slash Parliament's budget? And like I said the last time, Chairman of Parliament, for me it ain't about the post. It's not about the post travel expenses of Parliament. That's not my issue, because but anyhow, that's not my issue. The issue is that according to law, the government cannot just change and adjust a budget presented by Parliament to them. So when I brought this to the attention of government, government said, indeed, you are right. We are going to adjust the travel budget of Parliament back up because we should not have lowered it. So in this very realistic budget, what it did, take hundreds of thousands of guilders, over 200,000 guilders, if I can remember well, from the travel budget of Parliament. And then we received, and I said to the government as well, I said, but how come with all the hoopla that went on regarding the budget for the Integrity Chamber, how come it has not been adjusted compared to the last time when it had to be adjusted, when an amendment cut it down, and then the government had to admit, well, that really wasn't the best thing to happen, but we couldn't say anything. That's the way it went. We couldn't really say anything. So the amendment went through, and then government had to wiggle and see how they could have added something to the budget of the Integrity Chamber. So then what do they do now? So they present an amendment. So we have two amendments from government to the budget. One, to up the travel account of Parliament, and two, to fix the Integrity Chamber amount. So then, of course, okay, what did the Integrity Chamber ask for? And then the government ups the Integrity Chamber budget 2023 with about 300,000 guilders, based, they said, on the request of the Integrity Chamber. Mr. Chairman, I would advise you to pull up the letter from the Integrity Chamber asking for their budget. I would advise you to do that because it is with the note of amendment that coming from government. So while you are pulling it up, let me tell you what it says. It says, we want you, government, to give us the 300,000 guilders you cut in 2022. And we want our complete budget in 2023. But no, the government throws in a 300,000 guilders more or less and say, yeah, now we are acting in accordance with the request from the Integrity Chamber. Because you see what happened? We can't read. We can't read. And then they take the travel budget of Parliament, so the one that they upped, and they take the integrity post and they full it because suddenly, between the presentation of the budget in Central Committee and the handling in public meeting, the government realized we could get some money with ship registration. Ship registration. Hundreds of thousands of guilders, according to the government, by a snap of the finger. So my question was, government, and what have you done towards this ship registry for Sint Maarten? Oh, we contacted Curaçao and I hope the Netherlands as well, but anyhow, not the Netherlands, the kingdom as well. So we contacted them and waiting to get some feedback and then see what we are doing. At the end of the first quarter of 2023, and then you're going to take and you're going to balance out the travel budget of Parliament and the increase, which is already too low according to the Integrity Chamber, the increase in the budget of the Integrity Chamber, you're going to balance it out because you're getting in money now from the ship registry. So I would like to know step for step. So what were the conclusions of the discussions with the counterparts in Curaçao regarding ship registration? Where are we? We started draft something already? Somebody going to draft something for us? Where are we? In this very realistic budget. Because this idea of a ship registry that suddenly came up to someone is projected as an income in this realistic budget. Mr. Chairman, I asked about it once, twice. Are we going to get a nature commission? Are we going to get a nature commission like the law prescribes? Finally, grudgingly, it was admitted, yeah, so the Nature Commission going to come. And I want to know when. When? When is the private sector, civil society going to be contacted about forming a Nature Commission for this country? I want to know when is this often touted road fund going to come? Because in addition to all of these that we're hearing, what's going to happen, how it's going to come, when it's going to come, not even when it's going to come, but all of these things that are going to happen, out of every minister's mouth comes the statement, we don't have capacity. There are two things. There are two things with which the ministers, all of them, are in tandem. Two things. One, well, is the Minister of Finance. It's his parameters. He set the stage, and we had to cut accordingly. And from the other side, it is then we don't have the capacity. Can't deal with this law, can't deal with that law. We don't have the capacity. By the way, coming back to Parliament's travel budget, I don't know if you are aware of the fact, Mr. Chairman, and I hope you do know, that a General Audit Chamber has announced an audit into the travel expenses of the Parliament of Sint Maarten. I hope we are aware of that. And specifically because a motion was passed in Parliament to evaluate the effectiveness and return on investment for Latino travel. A motion was passed in Parliament. So we passed the motion and we put it there. And now the audit chamber is saying, but you didn't do a thing. What have you evaluated? Not a thing. Not a thing. So now they're going to do an audit into the travel to Latino by Parliament. So I want to know about the road fund, and I want to know if I can receive a copy of the road network improvement plan that apparently is there. So I would like to see it. If it has been adjusted, let me see adjusted to what. The minister said that the overlaying that is taking place right now is coming from the operational budget. Yet, overlaying of roads, asphalting roads, not filling potholes, is put as part of the capital budget 2023. So right now, we're doing it differently. Right now, it's operational. And then when we get our capital budget, then it's going to become a capital. So if you take the whole Bush Road and you lay it overlay it, that's an operational expense of government, we're being told. I would like a little more information from the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport with respect to this issue of the Monument Fund and SOAB being contracted to do it. And what I would like to know, the minister, in his words, indicated that the whole process needed to start over. And I want to know if the minister can give a little more insight into what happened the many years ago that this was, that it had to be done over. And Mr. Chairman, the minister said that he does not remember saying that he would like to start or support the efforts of buying back Fort Amsterdam. Minister, in the same statement from which I quoted you yesterday, I believe it was, where you spoke about the Monument Fund and so, and I can share it with you in a second. I'm here going through the papers to see where exactly it is. But yes, here it is, Minister. And you are quoted as saying, and I quote, lastly, the minister confirmed that he will fight for efforts to buy back Fort Amsterdam. It belongs to the people patrimony, he said. And Minister, I am not asking you this to be critical of your statement. I am asking you this, for you to make an effort when these talks, whether they're going to take place by the National Slavery Commission of St. Maarten, if that's the official name, or by whosoever. If there is one thing I believe Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sports can throw into that discussion regarding finances. The Dutch are saying, no, it's going to be awareness. It's, you know, or whatever they feel that the money that they're going to make available in connection with slavery should be for. Minister, I think this is what you should throw in that discussion. That's what I think. And I would like you to make a note of it. So that's why I ask about the Fort Amsterdam. Do you want a better monument than that to be part of creating the awareness that the Dutch are saying they are willing to do with us? Or are we going to be getting more reports on everything under the sun than actual action? So, Minister, I want you to make a keen note of that. So I'm understanding we're going to be getting the bidding documents for the, I guess this is for the district cleaning. But they can't, no, I'm still with the Minister of ECYS. Minister, you said that the bidding for the monument fund can't be shared, and because they're still active. So the proposal to bid, can that be shared? So where persons were invited to bid, because that would show what exactly the objective of government is. Minister of ECYS, you indicated that parts of the 2009 multi-annual monument policy plan have been pulled out and are being worked on. Could you identify the parts that have been pulled out of the 2009 report on monuments, etc., and give an indication of your working on it? Okay, Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sports. Let me pose the question differently with respect to USM, NEPA, and all other school boards who are in the same boat. And the ministers have a way of, in their responses, saying, like I said before, like I said several times before. But when you're not given the correct answer, you could be saying it 6 times, and members of parliament are still going to ask you the same question. So I'm going to change up my question with respect to USM in this realistic budget. The USM budget compared to 2022 has been cut. I asked the minister, what is USM, what did USM present for their budget? And the minister mentioned it in his answers in the Central Committee. But still, that is not what is in our budget. That amount that USM requested is not in our budget. So I'm going to ask the minister, according to the current policies and rules, to what is USM, NEPA, and all others falling in the same boat entitled, according to your norms and tariffs? Because the minister kept repeating, Mr. Chairman, we are not going outside the norms. I'm not asking you to. I am asking you to be specific about the amount that has been budgeted for USM. And I put it in the context of the court case on Curaçao. And the minister said we're not going outside of the norms. But that's not what the verdict from the court said either. In fact, the verdict of the court said to the government of Curaçao, adjust your tariffs and norms so that that particular school board can give the education that they want to provide. So I would suggest through you, Mr. Chairman, to the minister, that I am quoting from the press article of the courts. And I would suggest that the minister makes an extra effort to get the verdict in that case. The verdict in the case of the government of Curaçao, no, the other way around, the Protestant school of Curaçao against the government of Curaçao. And Mr. Chairman, I have heard, and I am pleased to have heard, and all I would like the ministers to do on the following topics that I'm going to mention is to just give me a clearer, like a date in the next month, because then I can hold the ministers accountable. Because according to me, the ministers have made several commitments based on matters that I have brought up. for which I am thankful, but I need a little more surety in terms of when the minister is going to work on these things. For example, let's go to now the commitments made by this government. One, the cemetery upkeep. So the upkeep of the cemetery, especially the one in Coolsack. The Nature Commission, to which I just refer. I understood from the minister, thank you, Minister of Justice, because your answer in this context was very clear. The import ban on plastic bags is going to be pursued. And the minister was very frank, the Minister of Justice was very frank that it can't happen now. No capacity, no legislative capacity, etc. in 2024. But I want to put it down as a commitment for 2024, an import ban on plastic bags. I want to know regarding the follow-up on the Sint Maarten needs assessment on migration prepared by the IMO. And I would like to know, the minister say no, they're going to now look at that and see what they can pull out of it or work on it. And I would just like, just some clarity in terms of, is it this half year, next quarter, if I could just get that. The issue of tackling the social issue of gambling on Sint Maarten. Minister Utley, through the chairperson of Parliament, I believe your efforts completely. The sincerity with which you indicated that you understand and mentioning just a tip of the iceberg of the scenes that we see on St. Maarten, I honestly believe that you are prepared to do something. And the only thing I would like to know, again, I want to mention the SER report, the Council of Advice report, and if you could just give me a timeline. Just tell me, MP, Parliament, by next 2 months, for example, this action is going to be undertaken. The same I want to say to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, thank you. And again, I believe that commitment was a sincere one, and that has to do with electoral reform. I paid keen attention, Mr. Chairman, to the Prime Minister's statement, and I do believe we're going to get action. And I would just like if the Prime Minister could give me some kind of timeline. All I want to know is when do I ask or call back the ministers in here on a particular issue, an issue that I raised in the budget. So, Prime Minister, just like Minister Utley, I too believe that you are serious about that item and that you will seek to do something. Was glad to hear, Mr. Chairman, that the preparations for the Kingdom Conference are moving forward. I just ask that the Prime Minister keeps her finger on the pulse of the Kingdom Conference. And I had asked and I didn't get an answer, but as I said, it was getting late. And I didn't hear the answer to the connection between the country package and the discarded coho law and what that could mean now for the current mutual agreement, so onderlinge on the table. Mr. Chairman, just to refresh your memory, the country package was inextricably linked to the coho law. And basically it says, that mutual agreement says, no coho, no country package. And I would like to know how the countries are going to deal with that now. Minister Utley, I also believe, this is under my commitments that I have it noted, that you are serious about picking up this national health screening matter. I honestly believe you're out to do it, and I just want to hear from you, Minister, when, how, and the steps to be taken. Too many of especially our women suffer on St. Maarten because they did not have timely screening. Too many. So, Minister, I honestly believe that you will take it up, and I thank you for that. Let me add this in here, Mr. Chairman, before my time runs out. That means I don't get to do it. And I have booked in an amendment to the budget earlier today, and the amendment has to do with the Ministry of ECYS. And
MP Sarah Westcott-Williams. Is it seconded by anyone?
But I finish elucidating it. Just give me a minute, and then you'll hear. Just elucidating the proposal. How could it be second if I don't think it has been shared around yet? I don't think it has been shared around yet, but I'm going to elucidate it. And then you and our secretariat will share it, and then members, but I know I'll get a second even before it is shared because the information has been shared with some. So going back, Mr. Chairman, as I was saying, let me deal with that before I run out of time, and it has to do with the Ministry of ECYS. Now you would remember in our discussions between the Minister of ECYS and myself that I kept asking him about the privatization of public education, which is on our budget and which for 2023 has been increased to 248,323 guilders. And but the minister kept, as I asked him, the minister kept asking saying that for him, what is important right now is that the financial management of public education becomes better, more effective, and quicker. And then, so you have that, Mr. Chairman. And then you have where, last year, thank you again, Minister, for executing the motion regarding Danskunst Jeugd, for which a 200,000 guilders proposal was made and approved. However, unfortunately, while certain things were being put in motion, this year the budget was dropped to 100,000. And then, Mr. Chairman, we have under the post tangible cultural heritage for 129, which is now 129,693 guilders. And my amendment is simple and straightforward. While we are thinking about how and when to deal with the privatization, not a financial management, privatization of the public education, I'm suggesting in my amendment that of that amount of 248,323 guilders, 200,000 is put on 100,000 for Danskunst Jeugd, so the dance schools on St. Maarten, and 100,000 is put on the tangible cultural heritage, bringing the art of dance on St. Maarten amongst the youth to 200,000, like it was last year, and on the tangible cultural heritage and all of the discussions that we have had, that it also be increased from 129,693,000 guilders to 229,693 guilders. And that proposal is with you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I would like to know from the Minister of Romy if the department, has any idea and can inform us what is happening on the beach as you enter the gate, or the walls rather, of character, and the dumping of boulders and rocks that has recently happened there. From accounts that are being given, it is not character. So I would like to know, is the ministry aware of it, and what's happening? Is it a filling up? I don't know, and I'm not going to speculate, but I would like the government ministry to indicate that to us. Mr. Chairman, I spoke about these two amendments and the fact that they are basically putting a post in the budget that came totally unprepared. We haven't seen a plan. There is no way that these type of intentions and commitments can be put in a budget or can be presented by any minister here without being not not elucidated upon, but given a financial plan, not a financial projection of 10 million, that's what it's going to be, and it's 55% now that we're going to get in the increase in mooring, etc., but a plan, a financial plan for the ship registry intention that the government has. And talking about the ship registry intention, I had asked during the course of these debates regarding, give me some information as to SLAC, the financial position of SLAC. And then I want to add to this, when we talk about putting moorings into the lagoon, who is supposed to finance that? Because that for sure is a capital expense. Is it in the capital budget of the minister, or is it going to happen some other way? Mr. Chairman, I asked about the Simpson Bay Beach. They are close to character. I spoke about the notes of amendments. And then, Mr. Chairman, I was very disappointed to hear now that the government is going to dissect the acrobatics study. And Mr. Chairman, I would like you, our secretariat, to look up and see when that matter was handled in Parliament and sent to government. So when we're talking about priorities, really? Now that report is going to be dissected and conclusions drawn. Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask the Prime Minister regarding those pensioners who are on what we call, and this is because these persons do not enjoy a pension from APS, and they are on a list that is called Onderstand bij wijze van pensioen. So these are pensioners who worked with government before, and because they were not entitled to the regular pension of APS, they are on this list. I would like the Prime Minister to, one, indicate when last this list has been indexed, if any, and how many persons we have on the list Onderstand bij wijze van pensioen. Mr. Chairman, going back to the realistic budget before us, the Minister of Finance back in February presented us with the following. Various measures. I think it's yesterday itself, or maybe the day before, I referred to this very same paper, but I didn't get any answer on it. And these various measures as part of tax reform are introduction of a small business scheme, withdrawal of the land tax, lowering of the profit tax and abolishing of the surcharges, lowering wage tax, increase tax-free rate income tax, lower transfer tax for extension of leased land, exemption transfer tax for first homeowners, and abolishment of inheritance and gift tax. So my question with respect to this is, when are are any of these measures going to be introduced in 2023? And if they are, what are the projected financial consequences of these measures? Mr. Chairman, could I get an indication as to where we're at?
MP, you got 11 minutes?
Oh, okay.
34, so 45. 11 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I don't have to speak so quickly. So, Mr. Chairman, I want to go back to an answer given by the Minister of TIAT, and that has to do with the daughter companies of the daughter companies of EDC being inactive. Minister, I have before me a budget that outlines the government-owned companies, or the companies that the government has shares in, 100%, partially, whatever the case may be. And that states by these daughter companies of EDC, active, active, active. How can we be told that these are inactive companies, like was said? Mr. Chairman, several of my colleagues refer to the budget and the inconsistencies between the budget and what was thought to be the lost in translation kind of thing with the English version. That was the argument that we heard. Mr. Chairman, I didn't go to the English translation, but when I look at the budget book itself, so what we received in Dutch, and I look at things and I listen to the discussion regarding the country package and how much money we can get or not get in 2023 as from the Dutch government. But when I take this very budget in before me, and then I see things like, and then if it is not right, then I stand to be corrected, because I would see under, and I'm just taking a random item because there's several of them throughout. And I take and I look at education, and it says, and now I'm going to translate it into English, development of a reform plan for secondary education and implementation. And then one of our local budget posts is mentioned. And then they have 600,000 guilders. And under the column, although they're very dark, but I checked it online as well, under the column of country package, you have a check mark. What does that mean? What does that mean? Because for other ministries, you have another way of indicating their priorities. So, Mr. Chairman, again, when I compare this with the numbers in the budget, they don't jive. They don't jive. So I would like that to be explained. What does it mean when I take the matter of the budget and the country package? What does it mean when you have a check mark on the country package by a ministry? What does that mean? I look at where under the matter of the payment to the police officers, and I come back to it because the government is telling us that they understand that the amount mentioned of 2.3 million guilders is not sufficient. That's what the government's saying in the budget. So they're telling us we put it in the budget, 2.3 million, 2.3 million, but it is not sufficient. So again, I have to ask, because I didn't hear the Minister of Finance give an answer to the question that the Minister of Justice referred to him, which is, how was the payment executed in 2020? That answer, and Minister, it was getting late, and if I missed you from giving an answer, then if I missed you giving the answer, then if you could just repeat it for me, and I would be more than grateful. Mr. Chairman, let me make sure that I got all of the stuff that I wanted to get out, because as the people of St. Maarten will know, this is the last round for us, except maybe for some clarifications that we can ask. So I'm just making sure that I haven't overlooked anything while I still have the time to do so. I have presented my amendment, and I look forward to hearing on the electoral reform and this matter pertaining to Article 59. I look forward to deliberating on that matter with the Prime Minister. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll leave it here. I know that I had some notes regarding not having received answers or not having received complete answers, but I will deal with that as we go along. And Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you.
Thank you, MP Sarah Westcott-Williams. Right now, we will have to break for a lunch, as not an MPs, but members of the staff and all were working from the morning. So lunch break from 1:15 to 2 p.m. Yes, MP Sarah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The discussion really had to do with the proposal for the amendment that I made, and then which has to be second, but you can ask that when you're bringing it up for, you would ask.
I would ask right now if it is
You
possible.
could, yes, of course.
Yes, if it is seconded, and I thought I saw that before, that's why. Thank you, and we'll break for lunch till 2 p.m. Meeting adjourned.